And astonishing goal. That's the way to do it. Herrera. Ibrahimovic! With 3.5 minutes to play. Now Di Maria wants it back, gets it back. Fantastic.
That's the luck of the bounce off Gaston Ramirez.
Top try!
What a day this is turning out to be for Manchester United.
Mason Greenwood hits the spot.
In he goes towards Muriel. What a save, David De Gea. Brilliant save.
Dan James. Dream debut. Daniel James.
Hello and welcome back to the United Devils podcast. This week we're going to be looking at another combined 11 in which we will be discussing the best Premier League Manchester United players that are non-British and hopefully seeing some links in where there are missing areas. With me today, welcome back Suraj. How is everything?
Hi Arjun, all good. India, I think we're easing the lockdown. Flights are going to resume from Monday. But where I am, Mumbai is still the worst hit city. So I don't think there's a lot of relaxation for me per se. But it's just a little, you feel a little positive when you see people, not just in India, but all around the world, they're easing the lockdown, they're leaving their houses, even if it isn't 100%, it's a little encouraging to see at least 20% get back to normalcy. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you might have seen in the news people foolishly going to the beaches during the heat wave. Fortunately, I've not been one of those people. So I've actually been stuck in the house pretty much just baking, but and not literally baking, but like it's just so hot at the moment. It's quite unbearable at times.
Oh.
But
I thought you were baking cakes or bread or something.
No, I wish. No, it's very hot and kind of hoping that things are actually getting as better as reports in inverted commas seem, and this lockdown is actually able to be safely kind of lessened in that sense. But we'll have to see. Speaking of things changing and developing, as most of you viewers may know, the Bundesliga resumed last weekend, and of course, I think one of the bigger games, the Schalke Dortmund game with a 4-0 win for Dortmund, really showing a lot of what we were missing, really, an exciting game of football with exciting plays. Did you watch that game, Suraj?
Yeah, I watched the first half, and then after the first half, I just decided that, okay, this game's done, and I went and watched the other game, the Leipzig game. I think it was against... what was it against?
It was against one of the relegation candidates, was it not?
I completely forgot. Freiburg, yeah.
Oh, Freiburg, yeah.
Yeah, it was a 1-0.
Yeah, I believe it was a really late... No, it wasn't. A late equaliser from Yusuf Poulsen.
And then Freiburg had a goal denied in extra time. Injury time.
Yeah, I remember that, yes. But of course, one of the things that was that came about from it was the fact that obviously there were no fans in the stadium. Obviously, we've experienced that with the away game against LASK in Austria. And I was wondering what you thought, because obviously this is a controversial decision to be made, because most people are saying without fans, football's nothing. What's your take on that?
You gotta agree, without fans, it's quite I would say boring, because half the fun, even when you're watching on television, when you hear the fans chanting, and when a player makes a really great pass or an attempt, when you hear the entire crowd shout in unison, it's really fun to listen to, especially a league like Bundesliga where they have dedicated standing fans and the ticket prices are lower, so you have actual passionate fans going and just singing their hearts out. It's actually a very lovable feature about the Bundesliga, and to deny them of that kind of takes away 70-80% of the charm of the league. So it was sad to see, but you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah. I think that's the most important thing, is that you have got to do what you've got to do, and it is about finishing this part of the league in the safest way possible, so that the next season can then resume at its best in that sense. But it's about sort of admitting that these last 9 or so games are not going to be as good as they would be, obviously, with the fans and with the full atmosphere of the stadiums. But it's just about getting through it, so then the players can have a break and things can clear up and the season can then resume as it would normally.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes I struggle with the logic of this, where they make substitutes sit 1 meter apart, and then they literally come on as substitutes and go and defend corners. So I'm still struggling with the logic of it, but you can't deny that obviously the contact has become much lesser than it was earlier. So in a way, they are reducing the probability of it, but not negating it completely.
Yeah, obviously. I think that's something that they haven't quite figured out, is how to make things safe when it is a contact sport. You can't sort of remove contact altogether, because there are going to be tackles and things like that. And there are going to be it is a physical game. You can't really deny that. But obviously there are ways to sterilize things, and they obviously pre and post match sort of showers and washing and everything. That's all very important. And I'm sure that they do make sure that takes place. But hopefully when the Premier League resumes, they will follow the same safety regulations in Germany, because it seems to be working so far. So
yeah, it has been, and I believe they're testing players after every game twice and whatnot. So yeah, they do have their priorities in place, and like you said, they're probably very, very hygienic in terms of cleaning themselves, getting rid of all kinds of germs of their body, because yeah, it is a contact sport. So I'm pretty sure they're doing everything from their point of view. But still, when you have a virus that whose symptoms you can see even after 14 days, it's really, really difficult to track, and that is why we're staying indoors. So from an idealistic standpoint, the Bundesliga shouldn't have started, but well, that is an idealistic standpoint, and we're not in an ideal situation.
No, we aren't, unfortunately, but it is what it is in that sense, and I feel like I say this every week, but it is what it is, and we've just got to make the best of what we've got.
Yeah.
But let's move on to our main topic, of course, finding the ultimate Manchester United 11 from the overseas players that have played in the Premier League. And, of course, I think it's fair to say that we should start with the formation. So, obviously, I think we should be doing a back four just to kind of assess the whole area. But then, how would you want to set up? Would you rather do a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2?
I've gone for a 4-4-2.
Okay, yep, that's fine with me. More attackers in that sense then.
If you do want to make a tweak, we can make it a 4-3-3, so that's not an issue if you want to do it. So,
I'll tell you what, how about we see where we get to when it gets to the midfield, and then sort of go from there if we can change it midway.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so let's start with the goalkeeper, and I think there are three main candidates here. I think we all know who they are. So Schmeichel, David De Gea, and Van der Sar. Who have you gone for of those three?
So while making this lineup, I've kind of kept this rule that I'm only going to select players whom I've seen play extensively as a United fan. Mm-hmm. And I haven't seen Schmeichel play for United. And so basically the choice was between De Gea and Van der Sar for me, and I've gone for David De Gea.
Mm-hmm.
Not undermining Van der Sar in any way. He's an amazing goalkeeper, and I mean he's just so good. I don't need to explain, but I just feel I feel closer to David because through all these tough times he's stuck by us and he's been the only shining light in our team. So yeah, I have him in there, and he's been consistent for years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just whenever he was in goal, you'd always sort of feel very comfortable and very calm in the sense that when a shot came in, you were almost surprised it went in, even if it was a guaranteed goal. You'd expect him to do something brilliant and save it. And I mean, the 2017-18 season, he was unbelievable.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, pretty much that even though we've been really bad, he's been saving us. He's been saving us from, especially in games that we've been winning 2-1 or 3-2, he's been making that difference. And it's really difficult to have that kind of impact on a team as a goalkeeper, but he's been doing that. And then just sometimes in the 90th minute, he pulls off an unbelievable save that you'd excuse keepers for leaving those kind of shots, but he goes ahead and saves them. So I think he's one of the best players I've seen play for United. So he's got to be in there for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we should do it on that basis of players that we've seen play regularly. And I think, yeah, David De Gea gets in for me as well. As for right back, this is going to be a little bit more tricky. So who have you gone for in this one?
I've gone for Rafael. He had an unfortunate ending at the club, but I actually had Valencia in there first because he was quite prolific during the last few years, and he was quite the leader for us, and he's also won quite a few trophies with us. But then Rafael's won 3 Premier League titles with us, and his name is more synonymous with the good times as opposed to Valencia, who basically just reminds me of the last few seasons, which didn't go as well as we'd hoped for. But again, not discrediting Valencia, has been a great servant for us, but I've gone for Rafael in there.
Yeah, I think it was going to be a coin toss between those two because we've not had a lot of foreign right backs that have done well, really. I mean, it's been it's kind of just been Gary Neville straight to Wan-Bissaka on ones that have been for English players in that kind of sense. But it was a coin toss between the two. But you're right. I think Valencia does sort of symbolise the point where United haven't won a lot of titles, especially when he was at right back. Well, only when he was at right back. Yeah. But Rafael did do a good job, and his development did just get stunted by the fact that Van Gaal just simply didn't trust him. I think it was pretty much straight after the Leicester game, I believe, where he gave away a penalty, and then after that point, Valencia just came straight in to a back five. Right.
Yeah, you're right. One thing I would like to say is that this team was really difficult to make. So turns out we have a lot of really good had a lot of really good British talent. So it was actually a really difficult side to choose.
Yeah, I found a lot of trouble, especially in midfield, just having.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah. So yeah. Hopefully we'll have to get there eventually.
Yeah, we will.
But let's continue with the centre backs. I think there's one standout player is Nemanja Vidic. But who have you gone for alongside him?
Okay. So hear me out here. I've gone for Gerard Piqué.
Okay.
He has won 1 Premier League and 1 Champions League with us, even though he had just 9 appearances in that in that season per se. So but basically he came in with a set purpose. He came in to develop and then go back to Barca. We all knew it was going to happen sometime, and it happened. And looking at the player he's turned out to be, absolutely sensational. Won trophies all over, all kinds of trophies, World Cup, Champions League, La Liga, everything. So, because if you look at the other options that I had, it was basically Lindelof, Bai, and Rojo. So I think PK just stood out there for me because I don't think, as much as I love Lindelof and Bai, I don't think they're there yet to be in this team.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's very true. I mean, I don't think they've shown enough to be put into this ultimate 11 in that sense. I had Yap Stam, but I didn't watch a lot of him, so I wasn't sure whether to consider him, as well as Laurent Blanc and Mikael Silvestre.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see why PK does make it, because although Yap Stam, for me, I think he was just unbelievable on his day, and while it ended badly, he was exceptional when he was there.
I did have Stam in mind, but then again the same reason, I haven't seen him, so I didn't think it'd be fair to put him in. But just imagine a backline of Stam and Vidic. Crazy.
I mean, it would be like that Chelsea season where they just didn't concede.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say Gerard Piqué does make it in on the basis that we haven't actually watched a lot of Yap Stam at this point. But there we go. I mean, that's a pretty formidable centre-back pairing of Vidic and Piqué. But who makes the final part of our back four? Is it undeniably Patrice Evra?
Yeah, it is him. 5 Premier League titles, 1 Champions League. I don't think anyone's won that much for us. So in left backs, because the other options are just Luke Shaw. And back in the day, we had some really good guys, but again, I didn't watch them play, so can't add.
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I think you might have just cut off there.
Oh.
Would you mind just saying that again, please? Sorry. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hey, yeah. Sorry. Okay. So there are two. You might have to cut this part. There are 2 networks in my house, and I thought I was connected to the working one, but in fact I was connected to the one that kept disconnecting. So now we should be fine.
Okay, no problem.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah.
So I'll start the left back thing again. So
Sure.
So now we will do the final part of our defensive line, and I think it is undeniable that Patrice Evra makes the final part. Would you not agree?
Yeah, definitely. I have Patrice Evra in there as well. 5 Premier Leagues and 1 Champions League is quite a good reason to put someone in your 11. So yeah, I believe we had some really good guys back in the day at left back, but again, I haven't seen them play, so I can't add them.
I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah. So there we have it. Our back. Actually, before we go on, Patrice Evra obviously left Manchester United at the same time Ferdinand and Vidic did. Of those 3, would you have, if you were the manager instead of Van Gaal, would you have kept 1 or 2 of them, or even all 3?
Well, that's a tough one. I'd probably sell Evra and Ferdinand because I didn't think they were doing very well during the Moyes season. But I'd still keep Vidic because 3 top guys leaving a backline is always going to always affect you poorly. And Vidic was that leader we lacked for years and years. So I'd keep Vidic, and I think Ferdinand had already made his mind that he wanted to make the switch to QPR, so I'd let him go and sell Evra. because I believe we signed Luke Shaw at the end of that season, so at least we had a cover up and keep Vidic for the leadership.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah, especially because he did go to Inter Milan, then have an issue, which inevitably ended his season. So realistically, we could have kept him, and things could have been completely different. But I guess we'd never know. So that, I mean, there we have it. David De Gea in goal, Raphael and Patrice Evra in the wide fullback options, and Vidic and PK making up the centre-back pair. So let's move on to the difficult decision. We already said the midfield. You've gone for two midfielders, and I think that makes sense given the limited options, really. Who have you gone for?
So this is the part that it gets tricky, and there's some really questionable choices, and I don't have players like Vidic, PK and Evra in my midfield. So, because basically our midfield has been Scholes and Carrick and whatnot, so again, Britishers. So I've gone for Herrera because he was a binding aspect of our midfield for years, and he has some really important assists in the EFL finals to Zlatan, and then the FA Cup assist to Martial against Everton in the semi-finals. So he has played an important role, and even the Europa League, the season where we won it, he was pretty influential there in Mourinho's midfield. So he's got to be in there. You want me to name?
Oh, sorry, no. I'll talk with Herrera. Yeah, I mean, Herrera was one of the players sort of I'd looked at, and I thought, well, I mean, he was exceptionally consistent in that sense. You can't say he was a world beater, but you can't say he ever performed below a 7 out of 10, really. There weren't many or any real shockers that he had. Even the one where he got the red card against Chelsea, he still was exceptional until that decision was made to give him the second yellow. But he never put a foot out of place, and he was always really, really consistent. And he scored some important goals, really, and more important assists as well.
Even the FA Cup semi-final against Tottenham, where he scored the second goal in that 2-1 win, and we ultimately lost the final, but at least he got us there. And I do see Scott McTominay showing a lot of signs of how Herrera used to play, and I'm liking it a lot.
Yeah. That is actually quite important, because you do always need. You may not need the. Scott McTominay is not the most technical player on the planet, but he offers you energy, he offers you passion, he offers you everything you'd want in a midfielder. And it doesn't matter that he's not the best in the world, but he shows up and he gives you 100% every game. So there's not much more you can ask from him. And of course, the same, like you said, was said for Herrera. I'm
just digressing from the point a little bit, but I read somewhere that at one point, I don't remember which team, but they came into the dressing room at halftime against United, and all they did was complain to the manager that Scott McTominay is under our skin. He's been calling us names. He's been, every time within earshot, he's been saying stuff like, "How much do you earn, mate?" and whatnot. And even if the player was earning more than McTominay, he'd go and ask him questions and just rile everyone up. And apparently that's all they were talking about in the dressing room, about how annoying Scott McTominay is. And I kind of like that character when he's on your side.
Yes, I think that's the important thing, is that he's frustrating for anyone who's not supporting the side he's on. I think that's why Robertson gets a lot of stick as well for Liverpool, is because we don't like him because he's so
cheeky.
Cheeky. He's always sort of willing to start a fight, and same can be said for Brandon Williams for United. I mean, there's it is sort of unfortunate double standard that everyone has. But so who's your second pick in the midfield then?
Second pick is unpopular opinion, Marouane Fellaini.
Oh,
He scored many important goals for us, many winning goals. He has messed up so many times, but when it's really mattered for us, like in the FA Cup semi-final against Everton, and I think even in the EFL Cup semi-finals he scored, and then en route he scored one in the sixth round against West Ham. So in general, he was a savior for Van Gaal in his second season, and Mourinho used him a lot as a backup. If nothing's working, just chuck Fellaini in there and keep pinging balls in. He saved us so many times, that winning goal against Arsenal, the winning goal against Young Boys. Even though he has made a few mistakes, when we sold him, I felt like we lost a plan B, but it was a plan B I was kind of happy to move on from.
No, I do agree with that. I do think, although he was almost an anti-football player in the sense that he kind of took away that idea of playing out from the back and doing everything United have been doing, playing that long ball tactic towards him worked so well when we needed it to, and he scored crucial goals, he set up crucial goals, and even when he didn't do that, he had a massive impact on the team in general. So can't deny that he was one of the more underrated players throughout Van Gaal and Mourinho's stints at United. However, I'm going to throw a few names into the mix. Obviously, there's Paul Pogba, who always sort of brings attention, even if he's not playing, even if he's injured, and whatever. Juan Mata, who like Fellaini, has scored crucial goals in finals, in semi-finals, just generally has been a playmaker when we've desperately needed one. And even though he hasn't turned up, he was the best option from none, really, at points. And then my third name to throw in the mix is Park Ji-sung, who, while he wasn't always a conventional midfielder in that sense, he's a bit like Herrera in the sense that he would give 100% for the team and be played wherever he was told to play. And I think it's a kind of coin toss between Herrera and Park in that sense, because they're both the similar kind of player, and they'll give 100% for their manager and for their club.
Yeah, I'm a little ashamed to mention that I forgot about Park.
To be honest, I just remembered him when you were talking about Herrera, so it's both of us.
Yeah, I think he'd walk into that team, but I don't know if it's fair to add him right now. Is it? Would you add Park in there right now? I mean, given he wasn't in our original lineup because of oversight.
Yeah. Well, I think we have a lot of forwards to go from, and I think the fact is, like you said with Valencia and Rafael, while Valencia was, probably, just almost as good, almost as important at points, like Herrera, he kind of reminds you of the periods where United haven't been so good, and also he did leave on not the best terms in the sense that he rejected the contract, whereas Park left kind of knowing his time was up and went to QPR. So I'd probably swap in Park for Herrera, and I'm happy to keep Fellaini because I think he has been, well, it sounds as disappointing as it sounds, he's been more influential than Pogba, which sounds odd, but then when you think about it, he's made more of a difference to when it mattered in that sense.
It's gonna sound anticlimactic, but I have Pogba in the lineup as well.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm happy to have Fellaini, Pogba, and Park if you're okay to drop Herrera.
Yeah, I think this is the point where we should have decided if it's a four-man midfield or three-man midfield.
Right.
Yeah, I think we'll do a three. Right?
Okay. All right then. So then we'll have Ji-sung, Park, Paul Pogba, and Marouane Fellaini.
Yep.
We haven't actually talked a bit about Pogba, which seems sort of unnatural that people don't talk about Pogba at all. Pogba is an exceptional player on his day, and let's hope that players back.
It's really clear how United play with and without Pogba. Just the amount of chances he creates. He's ahead in stats in so many parameters, despite missing so much of the season. And he was crucial in us winning the Europa League and I believe the League Cup as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I differing from what a lot of rival fans say, I say he's been quite good for United. I mean, it's easy to just sit and type out a tweet saying, "Oh, Pogba hasn't scored so many, or hasn't done that," but I think he's done a lot of good at United, and he's definitely one of the best overseas player at the club.
Yeah. I mean, he has obviously shown that on his day, he can be a world-class player. And while he may not have been as exceptional as our expectations were of him, he has obviously shown brilliant moments, like you said, in the Europa League, in the Carabao Cup, and mentioning the semi-final against Tottenham, he was crucial in getting the equaliser, winning the ball back, and a brilliant cross to Sanchez. I'm not going to sort of backtrack enough to say that he has been as influential as Fellaini, like I said, or as Park was for that United team, because he did work so hard. But he is an exceptional player, and I can't sort of not put him in there. But there we have it. There's our midfield three. Let's go on to the forwards then. Let's go for the right wing first.
I've gone for Louis Nani over there.
Yeah.
So again, he's one of those players who, on his day, is unbeatable, which is really not a good prior to add to a player. The on his day tag is quite. I wouldn't go as far as to say demeaning, but dampening about a player's status. But still, I have Nani in there because I think he's been the best right winger we've had. Yeah, for a while actually, and he has won trophies at the club to vouch for that as well. 4 Premier League titles, 1 Champions League, a Club World Cup as well. So he has had his moments, and again, during the Moyes season, it didn't work out for a lot of players, and he was one of them, unfortunately. So again, that ended pretty badly, but some of the goals he scored is just unbelievably good. So I have him in there.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that, really. I mean, I might try and make a case for Mata to get in on the right-hand side, but I remember your comments from the start of the season that if Juan Mata is still on the right-hand side, it's a mistake. So I think we'll leave that there. But Nani, exceptional on his day. I mean, scored so many crucial goals even, and some stunning goals as well, most notably like the ones against Chelsea, the one against City for the winner in the Community Shield, and of course the kind of chip merchant, if you want to call him that. But just some of them were just unnecessary at points. But an exceptional player, and honestly, I think he probably could have played for another 2 or 3 years at United instead of going off to, I believe, Sporting Lisbon and then Orlando, if I'm not mistaken, or Fenerbahce.
Fenerbahce, and then Valencia, and then Sporting.
Okay, yeah. So I've been to many other clubs, but easily could have stayed for a few years at Manchester United. Yeah. So that's our right wing. I think our left wing is kind of an obvious choice. It's Anthony Martial. No. Obviously Cristiano Ronaldo has to be in the team.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we need to explain why he's in there. Just one of the greatest the world has ever seen, and we're lucky to have seen him. We're lucky to have seen him play football, and to have him play for United was a bonus, I feel.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. I know it's easy to again say that he celebrated against United as a UA player, but I don't care about that. He's a UA player. He's going to please their fans now. He's not going to still try to please us. So
I mean, it wasn't at Old Trafford, was it?
No. It was a home game, I think. There.
No. Yeah. Sorry, I meant like
and then
it wasn't like game. It was at Old Trafford, so it wasn't.
No, it was there. No, it was. Yeah. Again, if a player celebrates against their old club, I'm fine with it because now he's moved on. So I get the whole respect thing, and if they do choose to not celebrate, well, that's amazing. But if they do, I don't really hold it against them. Fine, doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's sort of, well, there's a difference between celebrating and then kind of gloating in that sense.
Yeah, that's a fine line you got to draw. Like what Adebayor did was completely unacceptable.
I was about to mention Adebayor. Yeah, doing that it's that extra step where you see the line and just think, nah, I'm just gonna leap over that. Thanks. But yeah, absolutely. One thing before we go on to the final player is, would you with Juventus's current issues of not being able to finance transfers, which is why they're currently out of the Pogba deal and forced to sell the likes of Matuidi and potentially Dybala, Higuain, and Pjanic. Would you try and see if they could take Ronaldo? If United could take Ronaldo this summer?
Yeah, I think I would. It's a luxury signing, but he brings in that Zlatan energy with him, and Zlatan, that one season at United, he played so well, and we won 2 trophies that season. So I think if we just get that one prolific signing, maybe we can attract more like Ronaldo. Maybe the top teams would look at us and say, yeah, that's where I want to play. And if because of financial issues, if we get Ronaldo for a cheapish price and we get Jadon Sancho, just imagine that front line, Ronaldo, Sancho, and Martial or Rashford up top. So yeah, I'd take him. Luxury signing at the moment, but well, you know what you're getting with Ronaldo.
Yeah, and I think it would be something special if they could manage to get him, but I don't think that's where they're looking. We'll have to see. I'd love it if he could join, but it seems like United are going to have enough problems with just trying to get Sancho and Grealish, if that is who they are targeting, with the latter seeming like he won't actually move.
But media companies will make a fortune if Ronaldo even gets linked to United.
even if there is like a slight hint, like Ronaldo, I don't know, dropping a piece of paper with the word Manchester just randomly, in like a just sort of random kind of hint at nothing, like with Haaland signing the United shirt.
Oh yeah, that one.
It would everything would just blow up, and then we'll go through the same cycle of thinking a player's going to join, and then they just don't. They just turn out not to be interested or not joining or whatever. But
Pogba turned up to the derby with blue hair.
Oh yeah,
and then put in a 10 out of 10 that game as well.
Of course, and actually cupped his ear where the blue hair was.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yes, as we said, Ronaldo is the undeniable left winger. But up front, we have so many options. Who have you gone for?
A very tough pick. I had Van Nistelrooy in there, whom I've only just seen play a bit. Then there's obviously you have your Eric Cantona, Solskjaer. I've gone for Robin van Persie, one of my favorite players at United. Even though he was here for such a short time, he just came soul to soul to win us that 20th, won us that 20th, and then just a sad decline after that. And even then, I don't think it was Van Persie's fault. The next couple of seasons, I think there was just some poor management in there, and then I saw some in-depth analysis videos that showed Van Persie's runs in the 2012-2013 season with Scholes and Carrick feeding him balls versus him making the exact same type of runs with Fellaini feeding in those type of balls, and it was just tragic. So I have him in there, and had we had Ferguson for a few more seasons, I'm pretty sure Van Persie would have won more golden boots with us.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think he was probably managed a bit poorly. I remember a couple times when James Wilson got the nod ahead of him when Van Gaal was in charge, and I thought that was quite disrespectful. Even Falcao got a few games ahead of him when Falcao was playing so much worse. I don't understand it really, and I do think that the way... I remember Van Persie doing an interview earlier this year about how he was told he wasn't going to be playing for United anymore, and it was kind of like, it just seemed so harsh and unfair and really cruel. And the fact that he got moved for such little money, I think it was $3.5 million, is genuinely so disrespectful. I honestly think he could have played for another 2 or 3 years, and I think Jose Mourinho would have loved to have him.
Definitely, he's a proper classic number 9, and we sold such a prolific player, and we signed no one. That season we signed
Martial.
Martial, Schweinsteiger, Schneiderlin, and Damian.
And Depay.
I forgot about him.
I think most
United
United fans want to forget about him, really.
Yeah, and that was I think that was a catfish summer window for us, because I remember we signed Schweinsteiger, Schneiderlin, and Matteo Darmian within 3 days, and I was going crazy. And well, we all know what happened.
We've sold so many dreams.
Exactly, the United.
Yeah, undeniably Robin van Persie. I mean, I'd try and make a claim for Berbatov, but honestly, I'd rather, Van Persie was more in my kind of where I started to watch football a lot more, and watching Van Persie was just something else. I mean, he was unstoppable when he was, firing on all cylinders, and that's undeniable. So there we have our 11. De Gea in goal, Raphael, Vidic, Piqué, and Evra making the back four. We have Jason Park, Paul Pogba, and Marouane Fellaini in the midfield. Flanking Robin van Persie up front, we have Luis Nani and Cristiano Ronaldo. And then we have to do our manager to complete the 11, I guess. Again, it probably is undeniable. It's the man who's given us the most success as a foreign manager in the Premier League, and I think it is Jose Mourinho, is it not?
Yep, Jose Mourinho. To be fair, this becomes easy because until Van Gaal, we've had only one non-British manager, and that he was Irish, I think, O'Donnell.
Yeah.
So it wasn't much of a competition for Mourinho over there either. But again, undeniably one of the best post-Fergie.
Yeah. I think if Van Gaal, I mean, did you hear Rooney's interview a few days ago saying that he was disappointed that Van Gaal didn't get his final season, and that United would have been better with it? I mean, would you agree with that?
In a way, yes, because that was a good time where now it sounds stupid, but Timothy Fosu-Mensah and Varela and Lingard, they were doing so well as young players, and Rashford was coming up. And I named Rashford separately because the other three are out of the picture, and only Rashford's the lone good player. But if you look at that season in context, at the end of Van Gaal's second season, Guardiola was without a club, Ancelotti was without a club, and Mourinho was without a club. So, and all three were going to get scooped up by some club or the other. And I believe Man City had agreed that Guardiola deal early on, and Bayern Munich then went for Ancelotti. And Mourinho is just crying out for his dream job, and I think it'd be quite criminal to not give it to him over a manager that had just finished 5th after 4 new signings. So, in context, we should have gotten Mourinho.
Yeah, I do agree with that, actually. I don't know what would have happened if we'd have had Van Gaal for another year. I honestly couldn't tell. I mean, I remember points of that season being genuinely so painful to get through, especially the losses, the 3 in a row against Bournemouth, Norwich and Stoke, I believe in that order.
Yeah.
They were by far some of the more painful moments. And then the loss to West Ham basically preventing us from getting top 4 finish because Man City only needed a draw from Swansea to get ahead of us, which seems disappointing in that sense because we did actually finish level on points with them, but the goal difference was much bigger and far too big for us to keep up with. So it kind of ended on that kind of sour note, and obviously the last game of the season was postponed for a couple of days. But I mean, Mourinho came in and we won 3 trophies in a season. 2 were kind of 2 main ones, if you want to call it that. And the club restarted. So I don't know what would have happened if we'd had that 3rd season. But honestly, I am kind of, like you said, I am kind of glad, sort of in context, that Mourinho came in.
Yeah.
But obviously the other manager is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and again, we haven't seen enough to say he would displace Mourinho, and obviously he's not won anything yet. Although he looked set to be challenging for 2 trophies this season, we would have had to see how that would have gone. But it is going to be interesting because I don't know if they are going to bring back the other trophies such as the FA Cup and the Europa League and Champions League. Do you know if they are going to be doing that when all leagues resume, or do you think it is going to be just domestic?
I think it's going to be just domestic, even though there are reports saying that the Champions League will be back, will be completed and whatnot. But I think the Champions League will not be completed because different leagues are at different stages of coming back. Like the French league's been cancelled, the Dutch league's been cancelled, Germany is back, Italy are going to come back, and so are England. So I think managing a multinational league at this stage is going to be really difficult, and they might just end up calling it quits.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that. Maybe they'll do the domestic ones like the FA Cup and the Copa del Rey or things like that. But we'll have to see. And yeah, Solskjaer is not even close yet. But we'll have to see how he develops as the manager and how he develops the squad. But going on that, before we finish, obviously United have been back in training the last few days as they do prepare for the season to resume on the 12th of June, should everything be cleared to begin. What's your thoughts on this? Do you think it is too soon for England, especially because people are just downright ignoring the lockdown at the moment? Do you think it is too soon to be resuming the Premier League?
I think it is too soon to be resuming the Premier League, but again, it's one of those things wherein people have just accepted that this is the new normal and we have to get on with it. And even that's why even companies are reopening, saying, "See, we can't be shut forever." As it may be inhumane as it is to say that, yeah, health is important, but wealth is also important for a lot of clubs. And even I've shamelessly taken part in the whole null and void agenda, if you will, but that's mainly because of bias, because I don't want Liverpool to win the league. But
Preventing Liverpool.
I don't want that. But
Can't blame you.
Yeah, but if I were running the Premier League, I'd probably be looking at the economic points of it more than who's going to win or who's going to get relegated. So yeah, everyone's slowly getting back, and I think the Premier League are also looking at it from that standpoint, saying, hey, we also need to cut our losses.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is important just to get this little painful / uninteresting, if there are no fans, kind of thing over. Get the 9 games done, and then we can just start afresh with the new season. I think that's the most important thing. Is there anything else you wanted to discuss before we finish?
No, nothing as such. All good.
All right, excellent. Then I'm afraid that is all we have time for this week. Thank you for listening, and thank you to Suraj for joining me.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Tune in next week, in which we will be grading the Manchester United players' season so far out of 10. If you have any questions or any topics you would like for us to cover, then please comment below on the YouTube video or on the Twitter or Facebook post. And if you enjoyed this, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on Twitter for all of our content.